The founding of Rome begins when Romulus, the northern hemisphere field, and his twin brother Remus, the southern hemisphere field, raised by a she-wolf, the central vortex of creation, quarrel over where to build the city, the Vesica Piscis. Romulus kills Remus, the two fields interlocking and finding equilibrium. And the new city, short of women, seizes brides from the neighboring Sabine people. The Anode in the north and the Cathode in the south, the upper fields. The northern hemisphere field is the Anode, the southern hemisphere field is the Cathode. An act the Sabine women themselves later end by stepping between the two armies and stopping the war. The Cathode, acting as the mercy seat in the Vesica Piscis Overlay to find a covenant versus a war. Admiral Yi Sun-sin, sine wave, at the Battle of Myeongnyang in 1597, positions 13, the 13th frequency, Korean ships inside the narrow central vortex of creation, dielectric, Myeongnyang Strait, where the tidal current reverses on a fixed schedule and uses that reversal to defeat a far larger Japanese fleet without losing a ship. At the siege of Constantinople in 1453, Sultan Mehmed II, unable to break the iron chain sealing the Golden Harbor, the sun at the lip of the black hole vortex, drags 70 ships overland on greased logs and launches them inside the harbor, opening a second front the city's defenders cannot fully cover. Romulus and Remus, Anode and Cathode, draw from Roma, the single amniotic nursing source, before the current splits at the boundary. Roma, the city's own name, is read by ancient tradition itself as amor, love, reversed. The same letters run backward. A documented piece of Roman wordplay. Love reversed. The she-wolf, Lupa, nurses both twins from one source before either current is grounded separately. Twins nursing from one animal is the anode and cathode drawing from a shared undifferentiated field before the split that will later require the Sabine women to complete the circuit properly. Remus is not a breach. He is the relative motion between the two fields not yet in phase. The differential that has nowhere left to exist once one field locks onto the other. Twins from one source split at the boundary. One grounds and one does not, and what does not ground cannot remain once the field settles. The plow, yoked to the bull and the heifer, draws the pomerium, the sacred boundary furrow establishing the wall. Pomerium from post morium, behind the wall, the steadfast dielectric gap marked into the earth itself before the city exists inside it. Consus, the god whose festival Romulus uses as a pretext to gather the Sabines for the ambush, is an old Roman deity of the stored grain. His altar kept underground and uncovered only during his festival. Condire, to store away, to hide, the same root giving condo, to found. Rome's own founding verb, sharing its root with the grain's own act of concealment. The concealment of the grain, the wheat and the grain of the sun. Cathode names what the Sabine women are structurally before any conflict. They are the grounded field already present in the territory. The necessary complementary charge Rome cannot found a city without. The mercy seat names what that same field, the cathode, the Sabine women, does at the crisis point. It's not a new identity, but the same field relocated between two opposing charges rather than sitting passively grounded. A field that grounds one current insulates two, once it stands between them at the correct distance. Standing in the valley between the Capitoline, caput, head, and the Palatine, they occupy the geometric position of the Vesica Piscis itself. Two hills, two armies, one field inserted at the overlap. Romulus and Titus Tatius rule jointly afterwards, and the valley becomes the Roman Forum. Forum, from an old root meaning outside, open ground, the permanent seat built on the coordinate where the charge organized into a covenant rather than discharging as destruction. Tarpeia opens the Capitoline, the caput, the head, from outside of the Vesica, no mercy seat, standing between the two charges when she does it. A boundary breached without the insulating field between two charges is a short circuit, not a covenant. She is crushed under the shields, the very army she opened the gate for. The contrast is exact. The Sabine women insert themselves between two charges and produce a founding. The Tarpeia opens a boundary with no field between the charges and produces only her destruction. Istanbul, from the Greek eis, tin, polin, into the city always being approached, the Vesica Piscis, the place perpetually entered rather than arrived at once. Constantinople carries Constantine's constare, to stand firm together, steadfast and unmoving. The dielectric gap, secure as long as the plane itself is held. Hellenes, the name the Greeks gave themselves, carries he and el, the breath of God. Inside the same word, the thick, overlaid ancestor Grakoi gave way to. Bosporus, Greek baus, ox, plus porus, passage, the ox passage. The ox is the Aleph, the silent spark carrying the descending current across the strait. The golden horn chain between the two towers, unbreakable by direct naval assault. 26 Byzantine ships held the line behind it, the 26 vertebrae spine. The boundary and the spine holding position against the horizontal pressure. 70 ships dragged overland at night on greased logs, bypassing the sealed boundary from above rather than breaking through it. The ayin of the central vortex delivering the Aleph into the Bet, ascending the vertical axis, entering the Mem, and entering the harbor from above. 70 plus 26 equals 96. The closed loop's own 9 folding back into the material anchor. The chain is never broken. The city falls because the field is entered from above, not because the boundary is forced. The entrance from above, delivering the Aleph spark into the Bet, is what builds and creates the 9 of the light body of man to cancel the 9 of the beast at the 6 of the central vortex of matter. Yi Sun-sin holds the Myeongnyang Strait with 13 ships. The strait narrows to roughly 180 meters at its tightest point. The hyperboloid throat compressing the open field into a single channel. 180, the strait's narrowest width in meters, is also man's arc of horizon, half the full 360-degree circle. 330, the hour the engagement begins at 3:30. 130 is 13 multiplied by 10, the 13th frequency scaled to the power of 10. 13 ships holding against a fleet numbered in the hundreds carries the same shape as Echad, 13, Aleph plus Chet plus Dalet, the harmonic of unity standing outside the 12-base loop it's surrounded by. 13, against the many, is the coordinate. The 13th frequency holds this coordinate, the bottleneck of the narrow gate. Yi does not meet the fleet by force. He holds the position until the strait's own current reverses on its fixed schedule and turns against the larger fleet. The dual hemisphere Torus, the northern field and the southern field, the central vortex of creation, the black hole inhalation of 12,960 years, the Vesica Piscis Overlay, where the two fields come together and balance their frequencies in stillness and equilibrium of the 2D plane, in between the yearly inhale and exhale of the astrophysical breath of God. The anode and cathode of the northern and southern hemisphere joining. The overlay, the cathode, the Sabine women, creating the mercy seat, the covering, keeping the pressure around the entire 2D plane, the top of the vortex, held until the precise moment of release, so that the exhalation coming from the central vortex of creation, which is the black hole inhalation, flipping and turning over into a white hole exhalation of radiance, the spear in the side that releases both blood and water at the same time. The Birkeland currents, which are the hands of the anode and the feet of the cathode, providing a release to all of this pressure. Romulus is the northern field. Remus is the southern field. When these two fields find equilibrium and lock, Romulus founds Rome, and Remus is essentially part of Rome. The Sabine women are the overlay of the cathode field, acting as a protective covering or mercy seat to prevent the early release of the white hole vortex. The plow yokes the bull to the heifer, and that is the dielectric. It's the plow wave that comes out to the wall, the founding of Rome that creates the wall. Consus, the festival, the Vesica Piscis Overlay, hides the grain of the true sun at the central vortex of creation, except for when it is released through the Vesica Piscis toward the city, the Vesica Piscis, the place being approached. Constantinople, steadfast and unmoving, the tropical gap. The golden horn, the lip of the vortex. The 12-base matrix of 120 ships, 120, 12 times 10. 26 ships hold the line. 70 ships, Ayin, the vortex, come above and around the gate into the harbor from above, entering into the Bet, the Aleph entering the Bet, is the 70 ships arriving at Constantinople in the morning, bypassing the boundary from above rather than breaking through it. 70 plus 26 is 96. 9 and 6 are the 9 of the light body of man, canceling the beast at the 6 of matter at the central vortex. Yi Sun-sin holds the strait with 13 ships. The Japanese fleet roughly between 130 and 330 ships. 133, the figure most commonly cited for vessels actually engaged in combat. The narrow strait is 180 meters at its tightest point. This is where 180 sits. This is the arc of horizon. 360 is here, 180 is here. The 13th frequency, scaled to the power of 10, is 130 ships. The 13th frequency having victory over the 12. The light body of man and the 13th frequency meeting the 12 base matrix and the closed loop of the beast at the narrow gate. He holds the position until the strait's own current from the central vortex reverses on its fixed schedule, reversing from centripetal to centrifugal, the same architecture of the breath. 3 different elements, 3 different centuries, 3 different continents, and 3 different cultures. The same mechanism recorded in plain sight in secular history.